This is the Horse Radio Network.
How much do you really know about the supply chain issues affecting businesses, including those in the horse industry? We break it down with the owners of two of our favorite equestrian brands. Jess's old college roommate joins us for some laughs, and we find a way to squeeze horse poop into the conversation. Thanks for tuning in.
From Heels Down Mag, a podcast where horse pros chat about what's happening in the horse world over drinks. Welcome to Happy Hour.
I'm Justine Griffin.
I'm Jessica Payne.
And I'm Ellie Woznicka. Welcome to episode 92 of Heels Down Happy Hour.
What's going on?
Hey, guys.
What's new? So, Jess, you guys are like home based now, right? Like all of your
Yeah.
traveling has come to an end for the rest of the year?
We've come to an end in horse shows, but yes, we like to still travel, of course, but we can't sit still more than like a hot second. So, but yes, we're all wrapped up with the horse shows and happy to just be settling in and actually enjoying the farm. And it's like so nice to be home, honestly.
I'm sure. Gosh, you guys have like had literally the most whirlwind year of anybody I can think of.
I feel like it's like always something. And I'm like, oh, we actually like get to organize and like we'll have Christmas. We're actually going to stay here for Christmas. So I'm so excited. So all of the above. Yeah.
What about you, Ellie? How's the farm? Are you frozen?
It has started snowing, so that's
Stop it. It started snowing already?
Yeah, but the issue is the ground's not frozen. So the mud right now is so gross. Berkeley just lost a shoe yesterday. I put it back today. And it's, of course, winter shoes with snow pads and studs. So I'm out, $50.
A lot of money.
Because I can't, if I could find it, then it would be free. But I can't find it because it's like a foot in the ground. So,
no. That's annoying.
So I'm ready also I have to keep wiping my dog's feet every time they come in the house because they're getting all muddy. It's just, I'm ready for it to freeze.
Yeah.
I never thought I would actually say that. But I'm ready.
We'll circle back to you in like a couple of months and see if you still feel that way.
I know. I think we should bring this up later and be like, do you want the mud or the freezing cold?
This episode is brought to you by Green Flower Botanicals.
So I have a fun drink for everybody. I do love a really good margarita. So I can't wait. I actually am not going to lie. I only saw this one, so I can't wait to try it. But I wanted everybody to kind of try it with me because I don't know. It sounds pretty interesting and sounds like more of like a fallish drink. So I might have to like swing back around and try it. And I'd love to hear everybody else's takes on it. It's an apple cider margarita. And yeah, it sounds like really kind of fall good, really fun drink. So I want everybody to try it and like get on the Facebook group and let me know what you think because I will definitely try it and let you guys know. So with this one, you do like a big pitcher of it basically, and you do 1.5 cups of tequila, 2 cups of apple cider, then you do 3/4 cup triple sec, or I love in my margaritas is to use the Cointreau. And then you do 3/4 cup of lime juice and 3 big handfuls of ice. Basically put that all in a big pitcher and pour it for all your friends. That sounds so fun.
Yeah, I used this recipe recently.
You have?
Yeah, I had some girlfriends over for like dinner. They came over, like I made some food and stuff and I made this and everybody loved it. It's good. You gotta like tequila though.
Yeah, but like that's a margarita, right? Like
right.
And
but
I feel like if you use good tequila, it helps the margarita. I usually like a white, not high end tequila, but like not bottom shelf. And I usually use like a white tequila and stuff like this. So I'm like super excited to try it. I saw it and was like, this looks like so fun as like a fall drink.
Yeah. And so then I did like I did the rim but I did like a cinnamon spice like sugar rim with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're good. They're fun. They're fun for like a little party.
I just think it's funny because it's so timely for this time of the year. And Matt and I went to Texas Roadhouse. We haven't gone out to dinner in like a year. And we got a gift card and I got a mango frozen margarita and it's like 30 degrees outside and everybody's shaking and I'm like, this is great.
I'm not sure I could do the frozen margarita. I like the ones on the ice, like on the rocks. That's like my way. The frozen gives me brain freeze.
That's well, you don't drink it that fast. You savor it.
Must be doing that wrong.
All right, Jess, what do you got for news?
It's been a bit of a this whole year, I feel like keeps having controversial stuff with the USEF and national federations and FEI. And I have another one to bring to the table because now this year, after the Tokyo Olympics, there was not just in the eventing, the show jumpers were also not pleased as a consensus of a whole that no one really liked that 3-person format that they did. And I get why they did it because they wanted more nations and teams to come around and more flags to be able to represent in the Olympics, which makes sense. But at the same time, they also wanted to keep it the short numbers for airtime and, the amount of TV time you can have and everything. Well, so at that point, especially you saw it in the show jump world, you don't get a drop score. And so it ends up a lot of people ended up feeling like they pushed their horses and had to feel like they, show their horses, or a lot of teams weren't even able to fill a whole team because of, yes, Tokyo was a little weird because you had to quarantine before and do all of that. But like there were the show jumpers I saw it the most is like they weren't able to fill teams because the horse got hurt while traveling, but they didn't have another one in pre-export quarantine. So they couldn't even fill a whole team because they didn't send multiple people because it was expensive. And normally you get to show 4 horses and get a drop score. So all 4 at least get to compete. Here they're asking you to send 4 horses, but 1 not compete. And there's no drop score. So it has become this big controversy that all these federations are saying, look, we need to go back to the 4-person team because it's actually a horse welfare issue because there is a situation where you feel pressured as an athlete to keep riding your horse to finish the team, where maybe you would make better judgment calls and say, look, I'm not running this horse because it's not in its best interest and someone else can jump in ahead. But now they didn't have that. And I think a lot of it is due to the pandemic and due to the way they had to do the pre-export quarantine. So I think it's a lot of a mess in the situation. But I think in the end, it is nicer to know you have a drop score so that you can not push the horses to go fast on cross country. You have that leeway that maybe there is it. So, I mean, I get both sides of wanting more people, but I think it's kind of a cluster. And so the FEI and the national federations are kind of butting heads on what they want. And there are some nations wanting to say, like, we're not even going to show up if you have 3 members. So they're now, I mean, we'll see. This is just threatening things, but we'll see. They're supposed to do a meeting in the next couple weeks and coming months to kind of see what's going to happen for Paris. So stay tuned because it's always something. So now everybody's just, this is the latest thing is that they're not happy with the 3 format. And I don't think it worked in the best interest of the horses or the riders. So I do hope they go back to the 4.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we saw some of that in the Olympics this year where just,
100%.
Some of it was like, it could be tough to watch. So hopefully they can take all of those examples into account when they're rethinking this.
100%. So
with the jumps being like a true height, I mean, those were massive.
Yeah.
The first time, long time, I feel like the Olympics had, that many full height.
At all of it, at both the show jumping and the eventing.
And the eventing,
Yeah. I mean, all 100%. So it's not affecting the dressage as much. And so maybe they keep it for the dressage. So we'll see. Maybe they tweak it for everything, or maybe they find a way. I mean, I think they're just still playing with, this is the first time they've put the 3 riders into play like that with no drop score. So maybe there's a middle ground that they can come up with.
Right.
So, Ellie, what do you have?
Okay. So I'm going to try really hard to explain this properly because some of it was above my head. But horse poop, guys. as a home heating source.
Wait, what?
Okay. So in June of this year in Italy, this scientist did a study with 4 different stables. And what I think is crazy is, do you guys know that there's 800 million metric tons of horse manure produced throughout the year annually?
I mean, I
That's
guess that
kinda-
makes sense.
that's-
They poop, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a, I mean, like, I feel like I personally, not me, not me, my horses, I feel like personally probably make enough of that, especially Matt's horse poops like enormous. Anyway, so they did 4 stables and they tested manure that was stored inside, stored outside, stored for days, and stored for years. And they looked at the moisture level and the fuel, because as manure gets older, it loses its carbon, which is what would make it a good heating source, but it also takes forever to dry. I mean, anybody who's ever had a manure pile knows this. I mean, you turn a manure pile, even if it's been untouched for years, and it'll still steam, you know? So, but they talked about that manure kind of, once it's dry, has equivalent to promising biofuels like elephant grass, and it's only slightly lower than traditional wood logs for actual burning and heating. But there are some drawbacks, because we have to find a way to better manage manure piles so they're not as dense, so we can let the heat in and keep the water out. Also, there's issues with what we feed our horses. So like high salts and diets can have high concentrations of chlorine and or sulfur in the manure. So that actually leads to faster corrosion of furnaces and other metal equipment. And then also the high ratio of nitrogen, which is, they said, as much as 2%. And since nitrogen oxide, which comes from ammonia, so we're talking horse pee, has a greenhouse gas that contributes to global warming. So they'd have to figure out how to get that out, lower the nitrogen levels in manure, like stable management that reduces ammonia buildup before actually burning it. But it's a really cool study, and you guys should totally check it out. We'll leave the notes in the show notes here for how to get to it. But the scientists in Italy, its goal is to take manure directly from the stable and into the furnace, which, if that ever happens in my lifetime, that would be really convenient for me. Just throw it right. I could throw that far. Hit my house with it.
Yeah, it sounds complicated, right? Like there's no easy way right now. We would have to, like, there are a lot of factors that go into it, but that is interesting, you know?
Yeah, and it's good, I think, for someone to actually think about utilizing it. I mean, if we're producing that much, you know, as a, entire world, think about how many countries that could help, and it'll depend on too the different laws for different countries and everything like that, but definitely a neat idea.
Interesting.
What do you have, Justine?
All right, so I got more USCF problems. I feel like their list is getting pretty long. So unrelated to the Olympics, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this news yet, but the Sonoma Horse Park is the latest horse show venue that has said they're not going to run any U.S. Equestrian Federation rated shows in 2022. And their reason for this is they are not happy with the mileage rule. So obviously we saw kind of how this blew up with the new World Equestrian Center facility in Ocala and the mileage rule, and it's in the back and forth that they went through with USCF when they opened, and eventually WEC decided to just stick with the National Snaffle Bit Association. Well, Sonoma is saying that, they've been having issues getting approval with USCF due to the mileage rule, and that they had one show date approved with USCF for next year without a mileage conflict. And then they had another date approved under a mileage exemption, quote unquote, request, according to the USCF. And I feel like in these sort of situations, like, everybody's disappointed, right? So one, the USCF isn't getting a sanctioned show at this very nice venue. Two, the horse park can't run a recognized USCF show for their clients. And three, what does this mean for us, the people who actually horse show? to me, I think it's great that horse show venues are kind of sticking up for themselves, and what they need to make the bottom line work for them and their clients and who they want to attract to their to their venues for horse shows. But I feel like more competition from other associations isn't a bad thing, but I don't know. I'm curious to see how this is all going to play out in the long run. Do you guys have thoughts?
Well, and I think it's a little different with Sonoma. It's very similar to WEC, honestly, in a different situation. Like they had those dates is the problem. Sonoma did. They had the dates and they had plenty of them, if I'm not wrong. And they applied for the dates again, but the person that held the licensing dates left Sonoma and moved to this other venue. And so that's where I think it's very hard is like, they've already run great events. Now they're like known that for facility has. Yeah. They're known for it. And so now that their licensing person left is what I think I read somewhere is that like their licensing person left. And so I think that what happened was they left. And so they're like, okay, well, we still want to have our dates. And they're like, oh, no, your dates got moved here. And they're like, no, but we're still a fantastic facility. And I think everybody needs some way to get along and figure it out because I don't think it is fair for the competitors. And this is something that's totally like not in my wheelhouse. I mean, it's in California where we don't go and compete there. So it's like, but we see it. It's now a trickle down effect throughout the whole country. And it's going to keep happening where new venues want to come in and older venues are still there. And just because that new venue has put in like WEC or any of these other places, there's a number of them that want to do it. I think for the show jumping, especially, for just a USCF thing, there's got to be a way that they can all work together. And I think everyone's just fighting. And I think at some point, everybody's just got to like call it quits and sit down and actually have adult conversations on how to get this fixed and how they can both work together. And I think it's now this whole pissing match that's out of control.
Right. So their CEO at Sonoma, Howard Herman, said that the mileage rule creates two problems for their venue. They have to reapply for mileage exemptions every year. So that, in the past, they've hosted, youth championships, junior hunter finals. And if they have to reapply for that every year, that creates some financial insecurity for them, I guess. How do you plan these big events if you don't know if you're going to get them if you have to reapply every year? So 100%. I totally understand that. But there's got to be a way that they can have a conversation and figure out how this is going to work, Yeah. And I feel like there are a lot of new interesting venues opening in certain places. This is honestly happening in my backyard a little bit too. Terra Nova just opened. It's this big, beautiful facility. They want to host events there. They want to host hunter jumper shows there. There are competitors where I'm pretty sure the mileage rule is going to come into play. There are other venues in the area. So how is there a way for new venues to be exciting and attract new clientele, but also like we keep these same horse shows that we still love and still put on a good horse show? I feel like there's got to be a compromise somewhere.
100%.
Ultimately, too, it comes down to, USEF is losing money, to associations like NSBA. And ultimately, it's honestly better for the competitor. Yes, it's not USEF recognized, but their fees are a heck of a lot less than USEF. So it's kind of like making USEF look bad.
That's what I'm saying. The competition isn't a bad thing,
I think they've monopolized so many horse shows for so long. And now they're like, oh, crap, people are actually going to start switching because
now we're seeing pushback. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
100%.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out,
100%.
So just a shout out to everyone who supports us on Patreon. We really appreciate all of your donations. And we want to say congrats again to our fall raffle series winners. Your support means the world to us. You keep the show on the air. And if you're interested in supporting this podcast, you can do so by going to patreon.com/heelsdown. All right, guys, it's time for our product review. Both of you also got candles from Burned Out Equestrians, right?
Yes. And they are so cute. I just like it's the same kind of thing like the dirty soaps or whatever we got. The sayings are my favorite. And the
So
smell is
tell me about your
excellent.
candles that you got, Jess.
Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and like jump forward. I got the one that says burn your vet bills, which anybody that ever wants to see mine is like, I have probably need more burned out vet bills than anybody because I think I have too many. And it's like unbelievable. And the smell on that one is, I love the smell. It's like this refreshing smell. It's like tropical in a sense, I'd say.
Oh, I like
And
that.
it is. And it's, I don't know. I love it. And it's like, I don't know. I just like the smell. It's like refreshing. It feels like I'm like somewhere else. And so that one I had a lot of fun with. Like the
So
burned
it's
out,
like it's like the vacation you could have taken to the Caribbean if you didn't have the vet bill, is what you're saying.
pretty much. And it's like, oh, I just burned those, like literally put them in the fire and there they go. So it's hysterical. And then the other one I had is the warm up ring Survivors. And I feel like it goes with my t-shirt that says I'm the warm up ring expert or whatever it is, like
Yeah.
the heels down t-shirt. But it's like the other side of it. So like I'm the expert on my t-shirt and I'm amazing. And then the candle is like, I survived it because I was just in the most terrifying warm up of life. But this one is that nice, like kind of vanilla scent. So it's like way the other side, like when I maybe need to calm down because I've had the worst warm up of my life, like maybe I should just go sit next to the candle. So I don't know, like you read the sign, like the outsides of them, and they like make you want to like smell that scent in that weird way. Just like the soaps. It was like that lavender soap that I like had to have to like calm down and everything else. So I don't know. I love the candles as like the new addition.
What about you, Ellie? What candles did you get?
Oh my gosh. So I got Braiding a Clock, which is like a coffee scent.
That's cute.
Yeah, which I was really
Courtney needs that one.
Yeah, Courtney definitely needs that one.
I didn't even know there was that one. I've seen a couple of them and I totally missed that one somehow.
I was hesitant about it, honestly, because I'm one of those people where I can easily get overpowered by candles. And I was like, I don't know if I can handle it, but I opened it and it's very light. And like once I can have it lit for a couple hours and it's there, but it's not overpowering, which I really like a lot. My kitchen smells like I walked into like a mild Starbucks, which is enjoyable for me.
That's nice.
Since we don't have Starbucks in the boonies. It's a memory of home.
I totally hit up Starbucks today, by the way.
The other one, which is my all-time favorite, is Barn Chore Solace. So that's like I would say your winter candle, that one that just smells like trees, and one of my like all-time favorite scents. And I have that one going all the time, and it does a really good job of being, mild enough, but covering up, when my dogs are wet because I have to give them another bath because the mud is so bad and they just kind of smell like wet dogs. So that one's my all-time favorite, I would have to say. But what about you, Justine?
So I also got the Warm Up Ring Survivor. I like vanilla scents, Jess. Like this one's a vanilla sandalwood, and I don't know. Maybe I'm boring because I like vanilla, but I
really like it.
I really like it too.
Like, it's that nice one that you just like go to.
It fills the whole room when you light the candle. It's really nice. And then the other one I got is called My Last Dollar. And the little tagline on it is because horses are effing expensive, which is very true.
Maybe I should have gotten that one.
I know, right?
What does that one smell like though? Because I love
this one's
one.
a raspberry lemonade. And I was like, ooh, that feels like exotic for me, but it smells great. I like it a lot.
Okay. I'm gonna have
But
to
yeah, so candles for Burned Out Equestrians, like you said, Jess, it's sort of like the next iteration of soap for dirty equestrians. So if you liked our funny, cute taglines on our handmade soaps, the candles are like a great gift idea. Like they're like the perfect size. They're 9 ounces. They come in glass jars. They're made out of soy wax, and they're hand poured. You know what I mean? I feel like they're just like a great cute, hilarious gift, but they're locally made. I just really like them a lot. Like, I feel like I've already like ordered a bunch of them because these are going to be like my stocking stuffers for all the ladies at the barn. I like that they're natural soy wax. I like that they come in the glass container because I'm someone who will reuse these glass containers once they burn through. All the candles are renewable and biodegradable. They're free from pesticides and herbicides. And yeah, they're just great. I mean, they last for hours. Like I've lit mine several times and you can barely even tell. Like I've lit them and they've like just let them be lit for hours and they still look barely used, like you'll have them for a long time. So if you're interested in finding your own candle before the holidays, you can find them at shop.heelsdownmag.com. All right, everybody. I'm really excited to introduce our guests this week. We have Patricia De Silva from EcoGold and also Caitlin Woodburn from Street and Saddle. And we brought both of them on today to talk about something that is really timely and very important right now, the supply chain issue. It affects more than just your holiday shopping. It has a ripple effect basically on any purchase you're making, whether that's at the grocery store, whether that's at the feed store for your horses. And as entrepreneurs, both Caitlin and Patricia are dealing with this from the other side as business owners. So welcome. It's great to have both of you back. And Patricia, I was hoping let's just jumpstart right into this conversation. We've been reading a lot about the supply chain issues affecting retailers all over the world. Obviously, it's in the news every day right now. And the holidays pose this extra layer of challenges. So can you talk through how you're feeling the pinch at EcoGold and how you've been affected?
I mean, it hasn't been too bad for us compared to other people because a lot of the materials that we use are made in North America and we try to buy local as much as possible. But of course, transport has been an issue. And basically now you have to buy in bigger quantities and stock for a long time because you never know what you're going to be out of. And, first there was the pandemic. Now I think it's a lack of manpower and lack of employees that some factories are dealing with. But the more you buy from overseas, and, when we look at the equestrian industry, and you probably agree with me, Caitlin, like a lot of what you find in stores are imports. And so those things take more time. Like those, if you buy a lot from overseas, that's even worse because it's stuck on boats. It's stuck on, and it's caused because a lot of people during the pandemic switched from, service expenses like travel and things like that. Then they started buying stuff. And so, the supply chain can't keep up with demand right now. And that's
Caitlin, is that what you're feeling too at Street and Saddle?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, again, kind of like Patricia said, because we do try to source, within Canada and the States, and we also do our own manufacturing in our studios. So I think those have been huge pluses through this, but it's definitely been tough. I find, especially with larger orders to stores having to get canceled just because, sometimes a store will ask for, okay, well, can you make us this in time for Christmas? And I'm not even getting the fabric until, the third week of December.
Oh, wow.
Kind of thing. So, yeah, I think silver lining of it, though, is we have gotten really creative with using raw materials that we have. So say, if we have one roll left over from a previous collection, we actually put together our holiday collection this year from all fabrics that we had already or that we sourced from local suppliers, which is really cool because it turned into a really, great collection, that kind of pressure makes diamond situation.
Wow.
And everyone loved it. And I was, very open with our community that's kind of what we were doing and kind of basically upcycling our own fabrics, and everyone really loved it. So that was a very cool outcome of it.
Yeah. And I think Caitlin and I have the same philosophy in terms of manufacturing locally. And I think that it puts us an advantage, if you will. So we don't have to, get our products already made from overseas. We make them. And by getting stuff from local businesses, you kind of help the whole supply chain. Because the more, as a consumer, that you buy things that come from Asia, particularly, because that's where like the kind of the bottleneck is, the more you buy stuff from Amazon and, you know, places like that, where it's mainly cheap imports, like you're contributing to the problem.
Yeah.
And then prices go up, like gas goes up, like everything is a mess. So the more, you know, if there's a message, the more you can buy locally from artisans, from small businesses, from manufacturers. And, you know, now that things have opened up, like also buy services, you know, for Christmas, you don't need to buy things. You could buy concerts to the opera for your mom, or, you know, like there's other things that you can do that are kind of are going to help, because it's our need for like a lot of stuff that is cheap and deals, and that's what's causing the whole problem. And especially in the equestrian industry, I think that it's a market that's a little bit more upscale than the general population. So if everybody can switch like one purchase that they were going to make on Amazon and switch it to a local business, you know, if we all do that, then that's going to alleviate a little bit. Like, we're not going to solve the problem, but like it's going to minimize it.
As consumers, right, we're more educated, you know, than ever about where our products come from, but there's still like so much more explaining to do. What do you guys think the importance of buying local, or at least like knowing where your goods are sourced from? Like, what do you think the importance of that is for the consumer?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a really good question. It's definitely been so amazing to see as a brand how educated consumers are getting and how conscious. And I think shopping responsibly, unfortunately, kind of requires a lot of homework and research into what's going on behind the making of a product, because it's very difficult to make kind of blanket statements about, you know, if based on a certain country of origin or the size of a business. Like, I just recently watched a really good CBC Marketplace video, and they actually were exposing some, I won't give it all away, but some local, not local, but bigger Canadian brands that were suspected of selling clothing that was made by forced labor, and that basically the import laws are kind of so lax coming into Canada that that's not getting caught. But it's not just an issue unique to overseas manufacturing. Like in LA, they just passed a really like important bill that's going to protect garment workers' rights, because and this is like LA and California, there's a huge garment manufacturing industry, and there's a massive problem with just wage theft, just people getting paid below minimum wage and then not even getting paid that, you know, at the end of the day. So it's kind of happening. It can happen everywhere. And so I think it's definitely worth it for consumers to do their homework and find brands that align with their values that they'd like to support.
Yeah, but I think if you manufacture in Canada or in the US or even Europe, like you could have the bad apple, but the chances are there's workers' rights. You have all kinds of inspections and whatnot. So it's like you're ensuring a little bit that things are going to be made in certain conditions, I feel. And yeah, I kind of disagree with Caitlin. I don't feel that like consumers are as educated as they should. And I think that just the equestrian industry, I think people are extremely, or a certain percentage are very aware of different social issues, but then it doesn't translate into their buying habits, because just, in our Facebook group, for example, like people are looking for deals and whatever's cheapest, like we're still there. Like you'll never see me on Facebook go, what's the cheapest deal? Because I don't think that's what should guide your purchases. And maybe I'm a weird person, but it's more about, being buying things that you that not just like the quantity, but things that make you proud, or that, for example, I bought like a purse from a local producer, and it's made out of recycled fabric. And I actually went to see her and, there's like 3 people making these bags. And, every time that I use it, I think of, these people that are making it. And so it's not just like buying something that you don't have any emotional attachment to. It's like thinking about for different purchases.
I feel like that's a really important part of this conversation, Patricia, that I feel like it's trendy, to like post on Instagram that this is an important cause to you. But then again, if we look at like our buying power, which is really the action we take as consumers, not a lot of us follow through with that, right? So what needs to happen to keep shifting that mentality of, we know there's this problem, right? It's out in the news, it's in the headlines all the time, that our purchases have a direct impact on the earth, on sustainability, on our local communities. So how do we keep kind of pushing that responsibility, or like rising to the occasion of being a responsible consumer? Does that make sense? Like, what do you want to see change?
I think Patricia made a really good point about, getting to know the people who made, your item, whether that's a purse or a piece of clothing, and having that kind of emotional connection to it, because it's very easy to just disassociate, order whatever you want off of Amazon, and then just not think about it ever again. Like, I think that emotional connection and care to what you're buying can have, even if it's one piece of clothing, can have a ripple effect to the rest of your consumer habits in just thinking about what goes on behind making it. Like, for example, in our studio, I'll post a lot of kind of behind the scenes content of, here's a time-lapse video of a shirt being sewn. Here's how we make this. And for the first while, I wasn't sure if people would really care about that kind of content. But I've gotten a lot of messages from, our customers saying, oh, you inspired me to start learning about sewing. And then it's always followed up with, wow, I didn't realize how hard it was, and I always be encouraging to kind of like, keep doing it. It's, it's fine. Yes, it's very hard to do, but I think I can tell they're starting to think more about not just the clothing that they make or they buy from us, but the rest of their clothing in their closet. Like, where does that come from? That it is so time consuming and takes a lot of skill to make. So why was that t-shirt $3? And just the wheels start turning,
Well, and I think it's so important, like with the holidays and everything coming up, like I think a lot of us as, a consensus group and stuff kind of believe that we need to shop local and we need to kind of have that emotional thing, but we all know somebody or it's a family member or whatever. Like, how do you guys suggest kind of like at the holiday dinner table say, hey, look, like, let's all make sure, coming forward through the holidays and stuff like that, like maybe when asking for gifts or something, be like, look, I want something that's sentimental and it's something that means something to everybody, not just that cheap purchase or the thing that didn't mean something, that I want the background story. Like, do you have any recommendations for everybody to kind of talk about it at the holidays?
I don't know if it's going to be a subject that's going to be discussed at the holiday table necessarily.
No. But like when you're talking about what you want for gifts and stuff. So it's maybe not the dinner table.
No, like for example, like if I think that like we have to start, there's always like those more environment conscious people in the family. We all have
absolutely.
And I think those people need to drive change. And I think it needs to be an issue that, as much as other issues that have been in the forefront, like this has been, for example, there's a lot of talk about climate change, but then we don't bring it back to our consumption. We kind of separate those things, right? So the person that is maybe a little bit more aware about these the environment or things like that in the family. For example, in our family, what I brought up is a challenge to buy local. So this year, we're not allowed to buy anything that's like from a big box store or from Amazon. Like we have to buy local. And then my nephews were like, well, like how? I have two nephews and they're like, and I'm like, I don't care. Like buy me like locally made jam or, honey or, food. Like food is easy, right? Like to find something local, and now they're like, oh, we're going to these artisan markets and fairs and everyone's going to run after. And it's a great thing too to do with the family because now they're all going to these artisan markets together, like the
That's
whole
super cool
family. Yeah. So it's a norm when like everybody would just shop online on Amazon or whatever. And like I'd get socks or, whatever.
Buy gifts that you don't want. Yeah, exactly.
Or you want, but now they're making it into not only like shopping as a family activity. And that's also a gift that you give. It's the gift of time.
No,
right?
No, that's what's so important. Like, I think that's what, I would love people to take away is that it's exactly that. You put it so perfectly. It's the gift of time and going and spending out, like going to shop locally, even if you don't buy anything, like, but go out and like, just go look and maybe you find that one thing that you really do like and that you get it together. And it's more about the whole experience, not just the one thing that you bought off Amazon.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a really great, that kind of challenge idea is so good for also just, being imaginative for, also gift certificates for local restaurants. Maybe you'll find somewhere you didn't know about before. Like it just sort of expands your knowledge of the resources that are available close by.
And it's important to be proud. I don't know if there's a hashtag that could be created just for the equestrian industry. Caitlin, we need to brainstorm on that. But I think for the holiday, I think that putting this issue in the forefront, then it's going to push retailers to stock more local product. And then it's kind of a chain that if you don't, if it's inconvenient for people to find stuff, then not everyone's going to do the work, right? So if the retailers also had like a section that's clearly identified or that is products that are made in North America, I think that would make it easier for people to see it and to buy it.
Yes, I think it would especially be important for stores that don't typically stock locally made or made in North America items, just to kind of access that other level of consumer who's not typically putting a huge amount of effort into sourcing those out. It would help kind of put it under their nose. And then if you're already aware of this issue, just ask your local store, like, hey, like, do you have any products from that are made here? Make it into an issue.
Well, guys, I think you brought up some really great tips for our listeners to kind of take into mind as they're heading into the holiday shopping season. Like, can you believe it's already the end of November? This is wild.
Yep.
And we look forward to catching up with you guys soon, definitely, maybe after the holidays. So thank you, Patricia and Caitlin, for joining us.
Thank
you, guys.
Thank you. Take care.
Are you looking for a good holiday gift for yourself or for somebody else or something to ask for? This year, give the gift of a better ride this season with EcoGold. Whether you're looking to improve your saddle fit, stop saddle slipping, or soothe your cold backed horse, EcoGold's high-performance pads can help. Shop the entire collection at ecogold.ca. And don't forget to order early and beat the holiday rush. So, guys, I have to introduce our special guest tonight, Jimmy Schramm, who is actually my old college roommate.
Woo-hoo.
We went to Auburn together. I know. She is an American eventer with experience up to the 5-star level. And then she is now partnered with Dom Schramm, her husband, who is an Australian eventer. And they both run their program in West Grove, PA. And you might remember her from the Fun Evention TV series that they did. And welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
No problem. And first, before we have to get started, I have to say congrats on such a good weekend with Eclair. You guys were awesome at Try On.
Thank you. I've just like it's the beginning of the season. I was just trying to take it like one day at a time, one show at a time, and just kind of seeing what happened. And she's been really good. So it was really fun. It was a good weekend.
So basically, we'd love for everybody here. If you don't know, Jimmy has bought this horse, Eclair, from a young horse. You bought her when she was 4, right?
Yeah.
4 or 5. Yeah. So it was like when she was 4. Super young. You picked her up and you basically believed in her. And tell everybody like how it is like to bring up the young horse and the experience it is. Like she's still super young. She's like 10, isn't she?
Yeah,
she's not very old.
10. Yeah, she's just 10 this year. Yeah, it's been really cool. I've had young-ish horses in the past. I wouldn't say like quite as young as her, obviously, to start, but I had this other advanced horse, Bellamy, for a long time.
Yeah, she wasn't that old. She bought her when she was young too.
Yeah, and it's actually a he. Sorry, Jess.
Oh, he for some reason, I don't know why I always wanted to go shoot. He was so pretty though, and that's why every time I wanted to. He did look like a girl. Sorry, dude.
Look like a girl. It's okay.
He did. Poor Bellamy.
He's very effeminate little guy.
He was. He was so pretty though.
And anyway, so kind of towards the end of his career, I was obviously thinking, okay, well, I've got to find something else I'm going to keep going with, and he wasn't really saleable, so I was going to have to get something young and get some help to go in on this horse with me, all that jazz. And I actually had been looking for a little while, and a friend of mine, Ashley Kehoe, was living in Germany and working over there for Philip Colossa. And she had been sending me horses, and she sends me this one. And honestly, y'all, half the reason why I even looked at her is because she looked just like Bells. And I was like, yes, another Bells, it was like same color, white blaze, 2 hind, white socks. Like she just looked really similar. And either way, I get a couple of videos of her and vetted her off the video and flew over there and tried her, drug Jenny Autry with me so she could video and take pictures. And I made her drive everywhere in Germany too. I was like, I can't drive over here. I was more afraid of the Autobahn than anything, but either way. And yeah, and I, to be honest with you, I didn't entirely even know what I was looking for, like you buy these young horses and it's kind of a crapshoot, like you think you're making some kind of educated guess as to maybe they'll eventually go the level. But I mean, the reality of it is you might as well just find something that you like to ride because you're going to be riding it for a very long time if you're going to try and get it to the 5-star level or 4-star level anyway. So, I got to ride her twice over there, and I didn't get to cross country school her. I don't even think I think she had maybe cross country schooled once. She had not evented. And she used to root the reins real bad. And I was like, this is probably not good, but I'll do it anyway. It's fine. Yeah. And she's been pulling my arms out ever since, really. But,
right.
But yeah, it's been really cool, like kind of halfway through, maybe in her 6-year-old year, Dom had to re-talk me into keeping her at one point. We've done that for each other a couple of times, with several horses, but she just was really hard in the beginning. And, like just the way she moved was difficult to ride. And I hadn't really ever done that young horse thing. And I was just like, how is this ever going to get better? And, and she turned a corner and she was never a horse trials warrior, which, can be disheartening for some people. Like she doesn't go out and win a bunch of horse trials week in and week out. That's not really her thing. The whole point of her was always to be an FEI horse or a long format horse. And it's proving, now at the 4-star level to finally be the best level for her because she can finally run as much as she wants and for as long as she needs to where it's actually makes her better. So that's been cool.
And I think a lot of those horses that everybody wants to make it a 5-star horse, like they're almost like they're kind of middle of the road when they're there and they really blossom once they get to the upper levels. And you've put in that flat work with your dressage trainer and everything else that everybody doesn't see behind the scenes, like how much you've really put into her and gone and gotten the extra help and so that you can actually ride her quite well.
Yeah. Yeah. She was, I was pretty good until I got to the 3-star level, about to go advanced. And I was like, okay, I kind of had plateaued with her flat work. And I was like, okay, I can't, I didn't have the knowledge to like make her better enough. And that was kind of right around when COVID hit. So I dropped her off at my friend Nicholas Fife's place in Wellington, another Australian rider, actually straight dressage rider. And I've never done that before. I've never had anyone really train her before. And she came back to me from him and I almost couldn't ride her. The first day I got on her, I was like, Nick, like I can't even ride this. I was like cantering around the ring and I was like, this feels crazy. Like she felt so different. He just like kind of put a real half halt on her and taught her how to sit a little bit more, because the way she's designed, she's like a greyhound, she's kind of designed to go in one direction fast. And so the way her pelvis is kind of set, it's really hard for her to sit. So he helped kind of break through that a little bit for me. And that actually ended up helping me a lot in the show jumping and in the cross country for that matter, because she stopped pulling down so bad. She used to pull down real hard when she was running, and she doesn't really do that much anymore. But yeah, it's been really special. It's been really cool. And I think more than anything, it's just great because I go places and we go out on course and it's like, I just know everything she's going to do, everything she's going to look at or not look at or care about, and that's nice. It's nice to have that.
So I know you mentioned that it's kind of a crapshoot when you get a young one, but do you have any advice to our listeners who buy young green horses? Like, how do you stay motivated to want to get them to that level? I mean, maybe not as high of a level, but just to keep working with young horses if we don't have a husband to convince us to keep them.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. I think the biggest thing that I try to remember about the young horses myself is, I try and think a little bit too about how I am personally when I'm trying to, whether it's working out at the gym or even when I was in school, stuff like that, to like know that certain things are gonna be difficult for you, and you have to have empathy for these young horses when we're trying to train them to do stuff. They only know what we've taught them, especially young horses. So you have to kind of keep remembering that they just might not really understand the question that's being asked, or they're lacking confidence in that area of whatever you're asking them to do. And then you almost, so then you've got to kind of just change your mentality about them a little bit and almost try and build them up a little bit more and become more of their cheerleader a little bit. I think some of them need that, and, just try and understand a little bit more of where they're coming from and why it's difficult. Like it's real easy to get on them and, they're 6 years old and you're like, why in the heck can't you do this leg yield better? Or why can't you manage this, little teardrop loop in the canter? Why are you always changing? And it's like, their bodies are changing, whatever we're doing on them. Maybe we're crooked. Maybe the whole thing's our fault. There's a lot you got to kind of remove yourself from and think a little bit more about them and what's difficult for them and how to change your mentality about it and cheer them on and know that they're going to get better. So much of it, I think, too, is just strength. Like, we get so many of these young horses, and especially if it's a bigger young horse. I've got a 6-year-old right now who's a bit rangy, and God love him. I think he's incredible. But when he's actually going the right way, he can literally only work for 20 minutes and then he is like toast. You know what I mean? Because it's hard. It's really hard for them when they're building long-term strength. It just takes a really long time, and you have to be prepared to wait a little while.
Go in it for the long haul.
Yeah,
to
get the good stuff, like it just takes, anything good takes a freaking long time. So you just got to, take the little wins when you get them, like whether day to day you get them off the right rein for 2 circles and you're like, great, that's awesome, because I haven't been able to do that for a month, like whatever it is, you just got to, I think for me, you just have to kind of cheer them on a little bit and take yourself out of it. And that helps, I think. I think too, with the young horses, you can't be so competition driven, I mean, to like in and out winning events. Like it's not really about that for them.
Sometimes the best ones aren't going to win in the beginning. They're going to win in the end, and you have to kind of believe in it and go in it for the long haul, like you said.
So
For sure.
these two, Jimmy, love to embarrass me. They love to have my mom on the podcast and ask her, things about me.
So
So
if
it's
you want
my
to be
turn?
embarrassed, if you want to embarrass someone, have my mom on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
her
gosh.
mom is amazing, though. Peggy is amazing. I might need to get Peggy on the podcast.
Peggy got kicked off the airplane the other day.
Oh,
What?
Jesus. Peggy's a flight attendant, first off.
She is a flight attendant and then got kicked off of another airline's flight because she wouldn't wear her mask properly.
Of course she wouldn't. Of course
Oh,
she
no.
wouldn't. Even though she was wearing it every day on her own
I
airplane.
know.
Won't do it on another.
So let's
so dramatic. Anyway, sorry.
No, it's okay. Let's embarrass Jess.
No,
So
they
you
want
guys
me. I was like deflecting to Peggy. I knew where Ellie was going.
So you guys were college roommates. Any good stories?
Oh boy.
Sure, we got plenty. We got ourselves in a lot of trouble.
We did get in a lot of trouble. Nothing too crazy, but the best thing about Jess was,
I'm
for the most
scared.
part when we were in college, is she was just like, you're gonna go out with Jess and you're like, there's no going back from that. Like you start the evening and you're like in for the long haul of the evening, right? Like she's not going
We were
home.
going home early.
She's not going home till that bar closes. So
Wow.
we are out on the town, right? And so and she freaking, because she'll talk to anybody, she knows everyone everywhere we go, and then it's like, and then the next thing you know, she's like got some I don't know, cute quarterback that she's talking to, and you're like,
knew
"Oh,
it was
what
this
the
one."
hell?" He was so cute though.
He was so
Come
cute.
on. I don't even think he was a
No,
quarterback
Jimmy-
though. I don't know what he was.
He
Was
wasn't
a
a
kicker?
quarterback. He was the kicker. Yeah.
God.
So I ended
So-
up dating this kicker, and she's like, "Can you date him more often? Like, we need him to come home more often with us." And
Yeah, it was so hilarious. Like the very first night, we meet him at Sky Bar or somewhere. I don't know. We're all hanging out. Everything's fine. Where I'm secretly just living vicariously through Jess while she's talking to some hot guy. And next thing I know, we're going home, and I don't really remember half of it. And I was in the bedroom down the hall from her.
And he walks out and because I didn't even hook up with him. We were
No.
so passed out. The best part was he literally slept in our house, and he walks out without a shirt on, and Jimmy about pees on herself.
Yeah, I'm halfway walking out of my bedroom, and this dude walks out of her bedroom and out into the bathroom. He basically beats me into the bathroom. I'm like, first of all, okay, go ahead, fine. You're hot. You can have
So she
it.
comes running
And
into
then,
our room, and she's like,
bolt into
"What?"
the room. I bolt into Jess's room, stick my head around the door, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? You brought this guy home?" And she's like, "We didn't do anything. We just slept." And I was like, "Whatever. He's still here." And then, of course, bolted back to my room.
She's like,
Oh,
"Well, you didn't
God.
tell me. I'm in pajamas." And I'm like, "Well, it's 5 a.m. in the morning. Everyone's in pajamas."
It was so fun, though. We
It
had
was so
such a
fun.
good time.
We had such a good time.
And we had such a good time eventing and
Oh yeah,
going to
we
these
used to
horse
hit up
shows.
horse shows. Yeah, we'd be driving up together, all in the trailer.
Were you with me at Fair Hill when Ronald Zabala proposed to me? Were you there with us?
do you remember Joan? This is before cell phones
You
when you
was
could
right,
video. Remember, it was the dance goes, and he wanted to give
Yes.
you the dance goes, and Joan, remember, got the dance goes. My mother,
What is
Joan.
what is the dance? What?
A dance
He
for
proposed
clogs.
the clogs. He
They used
proposed
to
with a
sponsor Fair
clog.
Hill. They used to
Whoa.
sponsor Fair Hill, and I think I actually took a pair. They were the center pieces on the tables at the competitors' party.
No, he
Okay.
proposed with them. That's what he instead of a ring, he proposed with shoes.
There was a picture of him on his knees like on his knee, proposing to me in a barn aisle with like dance coat.
Because it was like trying to be like Cinderella, but like with dance coat
I
shoes.
see.
And so he's like, it turned really
with a
kinda
wooden
cryptic.
clog.
With a
If Matt
I'm like,
tries
Ronald,
to
pretty
propose-
positive you can afford more than a clog, bro.
If Matt tries to propose with a freaking wooden clog, I will kick him in the face.
With said
you-
wooden clog.
If
Said
he,
clog.
if he proposes with wooden clogs, will you just video you punching him in the face?
Oh no,
Just
I'm going
curious.
to kick him.
Okay, well, you video kicking him in the face.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
About traveling with Jess. Jess and I used to drive to all the horse shows and stuff together. And we used to go to, remember we used to go to the Tanger outlets or Tanger outlets. And
Oh yeah, I'd stop off and like hit
With
up
the
all the shopping
horses.
on the way.
And then we'd be like, well, that'll be all right. Like we can hit the Olive Garden. Like it'll be okay.
Oh yeah, we
Just
would
leave
like
the
hit up.
trailer in the parking lot.
Yeah, our
poor
horses were like
horses.
totally used to it.
They're
They
just like,
lived
this is
college
what we
with
do.
us. Basically,
they
our
totally get
horses
it.
lived college with us. Was the problem?
It was
That's
awesome.
so funny. Oh my gosh.
It was so
okay,
fun.
so to fast forward, you guys survived college. Everybody's
Yeah.
still alive.
We
Now
survived
both
college
go
and got
on.
married, which was amazing.
Pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
so you both go on and you not only do you get married, but you both marry eventers.
I know. What were we thinking?
I
So-
know. Some
so
days
tell
we
me
question
What is
that.
that like to be Jimmy? We'll start with you and then just feel free to chime in too. But like, what is it like being married to someone who is also competitive? Like, how do you, I mean, you both are one half of a program, right? You run these barns, you got all these horses, you're showing yourself, you're producing horses. Like, how do you get it all done? How do you support each other's riding goals? It feels like a lot.
You know, the good thing about Dom and I is that actually the work is probably what we do best. Like we can, and it's always been this way because we've always worked together in barns. Like we can be fighting, ready to kill each other. But like when we're in the barn, we can like put it aside and work. Like it might be uncomfortable
It
and
might be a little hostile.
it's a little hostile and curt and short one word answers, but like we can do it,
But I think that's because the horses
pretty
become
easy.
first. I think
Yeah.
that's why it makes it easy is the horses then have to be first. So it's not about your marriage or your partnership. It's like you have to go do your job. So that is why I feel like for us, it makes it easier, like, because you have to do that part. It's
Jess, do you guys have it? Do you guys have your stuff separate though? Like I know some people, I don't think
separate
do,
what?
but
Like,
you like Tim and Janelle have like separate barns. John and Jen have like separate barns, separate horses, separate staff. Like
I am way
you
too
guys-
controlling for that shit, man. No.
so y'all have like one thing.
It is one thing, and it is
Yeah.
like a whole team, and everybody is a team, and it kind of has to be that way because, I mean, I think there are programs that excel like that and stuff, but like we just can't afford the staff, and we can't afford to have two businesses. Like it's
Right.
already enough to be one, and so if you were two separate businesses with two separate staff and all of that, like we wouldn't exist because we have to wear multiple hats within one barn. So,
Yeah,
and I feel
we're
like
the-
you guys
we're the
are the
same
same way. Yeah, I was going to say you're the same way. So it is, you like have to be a little like, it is awkward at times when like everybody wants to fight, but you have to go down the barn and you have to do your job. And like, I want a big poster in my barn that says, do your job. Like Bill Belichick, Doug's like idol, says all the time. And I'm like, but I think it's part of it is like, that's what I want people to do. Like, it doesn't matter what your emotional state is. I don't care if I want to cry, punch somebody, do all the above. Like, it's a job. So I have to go show up to it. So I think that's where it makes it easier to work with. And that's what you're kind of saying. But for us, like, it's more everything else. Like, it was a long time ago when we started helping each other, like back in the dating phases, that we got to kind of work out a lot of the problems of how you could coach each other. And now we actually coach each other quite well. And so it was a lot of trial and error in our parts. But now we work together because all those trial and errors, like he can coach me and I'm in every warm up and I'm able to coach him. And I know the horses because I ride them as well. So it makes it easier in that sense for us. But it's taken, 10, 12 years of trial and error to get to the point where we're at, that we are put to the point where we can actually coach each other and do it successfully and do all that through, what their preferences are. And like, did you have that when you guys help each other out? It's
I can't coach
weird
Dom.
sometimes.
That's not a thing. I mean, I can I can try, and for the most part I just get looked at, or I get like a rebuttal, and so we don't, we help each other if the other person asks, and if not, then we just ride together and help each, like, to say positive
supportive
things.
Supportive.
Yeah, but for the most part, like for me, if I'm on the ground with him, it's like I will check things like, are those changes clean? Is that halt square? Is the frame in the correct way? But I'm not.
Or I went up 2 holes on the jump.
Yeah, like I'm not
2 holes.
I'm not coaching him in any way, but I do ask him for help, and he does help me, from time to time when I need a hand.
But Jimmy, you, like the two of you have advanced horses going. So like you were at Tryon last weekend, he was at Fairhill. Like, how do you schedule your lives with it's having like a horse going and goals?
Yeah. So, we each, that part of it, we kind of set separate goals for ourselves and for our horses, and we'll probably we kick it ideas back and forth and where we want to go and ask opinions and what we think about what show for what horse and that kind of thing. We do that a lot together, but for the most part we keep that stuff a little bit separate. Like we'll go compete the same shows together and stuff.
But like this season, when Bully needed to go to the Fairhill, I cannot talk. When Bully needed to go to Fairhill, or Maryland is what I was trying to say, and I put the two together somehow. But then you needed to go to Tryon. It wasn't let's combine it and do something different. Like he could go to Tryon with you. You do 2 separate schedules for those horses. In your programs.
Definitely. Yeah. And if it happens that those 2 horses, a couple of the horses go to the same shows, that's great. But we don't really plan it. We don't really plan it per horse. And it's actually pretty easy because each horse is really tailored to what they need. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would love to go and gallop with Boley because we have to drive to where we gallop, but Boley cannot gallop with another horse. So too bad.
Makes it
I
difficult.
have to gallop on a different day. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of stuff. You just we just schedule the best we can with what's going to work. But like next year, Dom's trying to go to badminton and wants to go over a month early and do some training and maybe do a prep run, which we haven't really done before with his other overseas trips. But it'll be fine, and I'll stay home and I'll ride the other ones that he leaves behind, and they'll do more of a summer 3-day instead of a spring 3-day, and that's just the way we'll work it.
And then that's when you kind of go together as in that kind of thing. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's different because you guys are both like, at that level where you both kind of have to work together but be apart. And that's where it's kind of different than a lot of programs where you talk about, Janelle and Tim or John and Jen, in that sense that like you guys work together, but you're still separate at both at the high levels. So that's where it's I think everybody just kind of has to figure it out. Like I said, through trial and error and everything else.
And like my life is a little like in the beginning, it was all horses and everything was horses. Right. And then in the last probably 2 or 3 years, I don't want to say I've taken a step back because I haven't, but I have taken on less horses and I work another job as well. So I worked for Eventing Nation for a short period, probably for about a year. And
I remember that.
Managed the advertising there, and then left there, and now work with Athletics. Frankie at Athletics. So, and that's a pretty full on position there. So, that in that sense, like of our day to day life, it's pretty easy. You know what I mean? Like,
does that make it easier for your relationship as well? Have you found that in the last couple of years, or it doesn't change? It was a little bit harder in the beginning, and it's not his fault, but I think in his mind, it was kind of like, if I don't see you working, you're not working,
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
especially because we were used to working side by side, doing kind of like our manual labor job all the time. And then obviously I would ride two or three horses and I'd leave the barn.
And you're like,
then,
I got to go to work.
Yeah, I'm like
literally.
I got to work. You know, but for him, he's like work in the barn all day, and then he'll come home and it'll be like, well, I need this and I need that. I'm like, well, dude, I've been working all day too. Like, I don't know what you think I've been doing in here. Like, I'm just sitting here twiddling my thumbs. But you know that, and that's not. I mean, it wasn't a problem. It just was something we had to get used to, you know. And now it's a lot easier. And we actually bought a farm last February, so now we live on the farm, and that makes it a lot easier too.
It makes it a lot
easier. Kind of, you know, if I need to pop out and do something, or if he's riding and I want to, you know, hop out and watch Boley go for a minute and then come back in and work, you know, all that stuff is so much easier. So that's good.
Okay, so question, Jimmy. I'm sure you've been asked this question like a million times.
Oh God, here we go.
Justine is dying to ask this. She's been dying.
I don't know if I've been dying, but I am curious. You know, a lot of people loved the Evention TV series, and as being a journalist, I know what it takes, like the hours of manual labor to put something like that together. Like, is it dead forever, or do you feel like you guys would ever revive it? Because it was so popular, people loved it.
I know, and we did love doing it. I don't think it's necessarily dead forever. I think if we came back, we probably wouldn't come back to necessarily doing the exact same thing, like probably not the exact same format necessarily.
She's saying she's going to do a reality TV show.
Something of that nature or something. I don't know. We do have a really awesome idea for a reality TV show. We've had it for years, but we just don't have anyone to like take the handles on it. You know, we're just too busy to really, you know, and the idea that we have is logistical nightmare. Like we'd have to do a bit of traveling for it. But the biggest thing was why we stopped originally was we were working with a young couple who was great, Grace and Matt, and they were just starting out as well. And so what happened was they kind of wanted to do more weddings. She was a photographer and he was doing the filming, and you know, we weren't paying them that much because we were both just starting out. So it worked for a while. And then they were like, okay, well, we want to do these weddings and actually make some good money, you know, which was totally fair. And we were getting busier too and had more horses. And so it was just harder to, you know, take the time to do it. And then on top of that, like, I mean, we made a video a week for like 2.5 years. Like there's only so many tutorials out there that you can do in 10 minutes without, you know, having to think of something else to do. But, you know, the other thing that we kind of ran into a little bit, and it was just something that I think, I don't want to say we grew out of that phase of our life, but we did a little bit, you know, like at some point we wanted to really focus on our riding and being professional and getting owners. And with Evention, it was such an awesome thing. And it was so fun and funny and innovative. But at the same time, it lumped us into this category of almost like the comedian couple. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not necessarily like the professional riders that you want to send your horse to compete or whatever, you know. And at some point, I think we just had to kind of decide what we were going to be. We were going to be one or the other. We couldn't really be both. I mean, you know, we're happy to be fun and lighthearted and not take things too seriously. But at the same time, we had pretty serious goals that we wanted to achieve, and it was hard to do it all at the same time. But to answer your question, I don't think it's totally dead. I think that we actually have some ideas in the works for, I don't think it'll be quite as comical, but some video stuff. And then, you know, if we ever got around to doing this reality thing that we want to do, it would be really cool. But we just have to find someone to manage it. If you know anyone that wants to do that, let us know.
Before we let you go, Jimmy, on every episode, we end the show by playing Rose and Thorn.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this?
Not entirely, but
it'll be right up your alley.
I'm pretty sure I'll be okay with it.
Yeah.
So basically, we each share a rose and a thorn, and it's the highlight of our week, and then like the crappiest part of our week.
Starting from Monday.
No, it doesn't have to be the week. So
I mean, it could be beyond that.
So like it could be 2 weeks. It could be day, like whatever. So if it's, but not
Your
like
highlight
6
and
months ago
your low point, essentially. Your rose
of
and your.
this month, call it.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh.
So we'll give you a minute to think about it. I mean, Ellie, Jess,
We'll all go first.
are you ready? If you're ready, you can go.
I'm ready. Maybe I need to think about my good one. My bad one was easy. Maybe you go first,
That
Justine.
bad one was easy.
Well, Jimmy, you might cry with my bad one.
Oh no.
Was it bacon? Because I'm going to cry.
Yeah, I know.
Oh no, I did.
I'll
see
just go
that.
ahead and go.
Oh,
So
bacon.
I know. So Doug's dog that we've had since before we were in together with Nolan, we used to run around. I have a long-haired Chihuahua that's a black and tan, and Doug has a black and tan like collie mix thing. And Bacon passed away this week, so
I'm so
it's
sorry.
so sad.
Oh.
Yeah, so super
So
sad.
worst.
But he's
How old was
buried
she?
on over this. He was.
Hey,
see,
sorry.
there we go. No problem. He was like 14 or 15. We think he was like around Nolan's age. So he was a
nice,
bigger dog.
long, happy life, you know.
Absolutely. So at least he's buried here and all that. And so it's just super sad because I think Doug thought he was going to last a lot longer, and Nolan's getting deaf. So like he thought Nolan was going to be like the first one of them to go. And then that thing's like still running around like a crazy dog. So she's still kicking it just fine. She just might be a little deaf, but it's super sad that
She's not going anywhere.
she's living till eternity, I believe. So
She's like
please
a
nobody say
cockroach.
that. Pretty much. She's like my rat dog that's never going to die. So that was like our super sad week is all of that involved. So that was terrible. But I guess my like rose would be that we get to be here for the month. Like it's not going to be a horse show thing. It's not going to be anything. Like it's just the fact that like we're going to be here. I have friends visiting next week and then the holidays, and I love the holidays. So I just get to spend family time and enjoy the farm. Like, and be just us with the family, and we're going to spend the holidays here, and everyone's going to come here for the holidays. So I'm like super excited.
That is exciting.
So that's
Ellie,
nice.
what about you?
So that's my rose.
Oh boy. So my rose is easy because my mom actually came to visit this past week, which
I
was
love
fun.
your mom.
I know. I love my mom too. Pretty cool.
So fun.
So that was really exciting because I just, haven't seen her in a long time. And I made her ride Berkeley too, which was really funny because I made her do it. I mean, it was like not even 18 inches. And she'd never done a bounce before in her life. And she's like, son of a, just like.
And she was probably perfect.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she was great. But so that was kind of fun for sure. And then I guess my thorn would have to be that with the mud, Berkeley keeps pulling his freaking shoes.
Oh.
And I can't find them because it's so freaking deep. I don't understand why he can't keep his freaking shoes on his feet like a good horse. So I don't even know. So I'm looking currently for bell boot recommendations and any kind of recommendation. At this point, I'm going to just put those like horse sneakers on his front feet.
I know. I was literally just about to say you should put those Cavallo boots on him.
I have them for when he pulls shoes so he can still go outside, but I don't have one for both front feet, but I'm literally just debating it, just putting them on, at least until there's snow, because the mud, I mean, everybody's slipping, and I know he's playful, and I'm fine with that, but it's just like, it's been really annoying. So, because it's costing me an arm and a leg. Not really,
man.
my friend.
Still
but
annoying.
yeah. So what about you, Justine?
So my rose is that.
You and Michael have been on fire?
Oh, he's wonderful. So actually, yes, it is Michael. We're going out this weekend, and I'm just doing a combined test, but I'm moving up to training. So I'm putting on my big girl panties and going to try the 3-3 show jumping course, and we'll see what happens. So
Oh, it's going to be great. I'm super excited.
I hope so.
Just pull and kick at the same time.
Yeah,
Well-
it's like the Mike Winter. Doug's like, Mike Winter had something to do that. Like that pull and kick is a great saying. He tells me the
works,
best that all
man.
the time. It does work.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm feeling good about it. So we're gonna try. And then if that goes well, then I think we're gonna do like a schooling show at the Florida Horse Park next month, training and like put it all together. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll never be fast though. I just don't think I'll ever in my life make the time at training. So
You'd be surprised. I think
You will
can.
be surprised.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd make the time at intermediate or advanced. And I came pretty close this weekend.
And you're fast. Exactly.
okay.
And I
we'll see.
normally am like a minute over.
She likes to go slow like me.
Like not
real slow.
qualifying score slow.
Hey, no, it's totally fine.
I mean, we like
fine.
slow. I'm all about the slow. I mean, I'm a hunter in like
turtle.
my day job, so like the slow is where I'm used to, you know. So we'll see. I don't know. We'll put it out there. We'll see what happens. So-
Right.
Oh God, is it my turn?
well,
Yes,
so then
it's
my
your
thorn
turn.
quickly.
Oh, right.
Oh, sorry.
My
Forgot
thorn
about
is
that
that I got promoted.
Why is that a thorn, Justine?
Because she has to
Because I
work
have so
more.
much more work to do, and I'm like,
I knew
God,
a thorn is because she's like, I got to work more.
it'll be fine.
So lesson learned, Justine. Just do worse.
Do
It'll be
less.
Fine.
But yeah, it's your turn, Jimmy. So
Oh God. Okay. Well, I've had a thorny day, man.
I know what happened today.
all right, vent. Use it to vent. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, okay. So my head girl, Emily, who was amazing with us for 5 or 6 years, she gave us her notice probably about a month ago. And which is a bummer, but I mean, I totally get it. It's like totally fair. She was like, I'm having a midlife crisis. I think I want a real job and make real money. I was like, weird. How would you want to do that? You don't want to be a slave for the rest of your life? Either way. And so we had one other girl that was working for us. He'd been with us for about 6 months. And, I sat her down. I said, if this is something you want to try, like I can help you train you to fill that role. Or if you just want to kind of stay where you're at, I'll hire somebody else to, do that barn manager groom position. She said, no, I want to do it. I said, okay, great. And she quit today.
Oh, too much for her. Too much for her.
Too much work. So now I have no staff, not one. She leaves she's staying through the 10th, which is great, at least through Thanksgiving. But after that, it's just me and Dom. So that's great. And then
We've all been there and you're like, it's not fun.
It's like the worst. And then we're supposed to be going to Hawaii tomorrow. And apparently Hawaii has got like all these ridiculous COVID restrictions, etc. And I went yesterday to get my COVID test like a good girl. And the results still aren't back yet. It's been over 24 hours. And I have to have these COVID tests like results printed before I can get on the plane tomorrow. So I'm like kind of tweaking out. I mean,
And are you going to visit your sisters?
Can't you go get a rapid test, or does it need to be a PCR?
No, it doesn't. It can't be a PCR. It has to be a NAAT test, which I had never even heard of. But the only other place I couldn't find, the biggest problem is where we live is so rural. Like it's really hard to find anywhere that'll do a rapid test that's like within an hour. So I went and had that test done. And then there is another one at the airport at my gate when we were flying like through Dallas, but it was $200 to get it done. And so I was like, I guess I'll just sign up for this test like last minute. Well, and then on top of that too, right before we went to try on, I was like, we should take the truck in. Like it's not feeling so good. And then like the day I'm taking it in, it gets stuck in 4th gear. And I was like, well, that's not good. And I drop it off and the guy's like, yeah, this thing needs so much work and a new transmission. Like I'm going to get it to, he's like, I'm going to get it to where you can limp it home or limp it to a dealership and you need to get a new truck.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, dear Lord.
I just can't catch a break.
I know. I was like, thank God for Jenny Brannigan. She let me take her truck to try on.
Thank God for Jenny.
It was so insane. But either way, so I've just got a lot, I got a lot of things piling up, a few things, but it's fine. It's, what, I feel like that's just how this game goes.
I feel like it's like up and down. Exactly. You like have some really high highs and some really low lows and then some middle ground.
And there's just like, it's just when it comes on thick, like never get too comfortable. That is.
No. You're like, I had such a good weekend. And now this.
And here. But yeah, my rose is obviously I have that top 5 at Tryon last weekend. That was really spectacular.
pretty awesome.
So I wish you guys had seen my dressage test though. It was woeful.
Oh wow. I saw the
girl.
jumping and she was so good.
Yeah, she was brilliant. Well, with the dressage, she actually warmed up really great, as they all do. And then what everybody says, they warmed up so great.
I won the dressage.
Yeah, I won the dress up warm up. But it had just started to rain, like it was drizzling sort of when I went. And so the camera guy who they had very close to the ring had put a big black plastic bag over the whole camera and like had cloaked himself. He looked like a freaking Dementor from Azkaban. I was like, what the hell is happening? And I came around that ring and she was like, absolutely not going in that corner. No way.
Not going near it.
I got past him once and then of course they rang me right into the ring. And so she was just like, it wasn't her fault. She just was so tense.
Breathing fire.
Yeah. And she was pretty good actually. I say she was pretty good. You know, she kept it together through all the trot work and actually stayed walking through all the walk, which was awesome. And she lost the plot a little bit in the canter, but it's okay.
It's okay. She'll be out it again.
We redeemed ourselves in the jumping phases.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it was good. I was really happy. Really, really happy for her. And I'm giving myself a small pat on the back, trying to be humble, but I was pretty pumped about it.
No, it's so good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm just excited for next year. And we're going to Wellington this year for January, which will be really fun.
We'll be down there.
Oh, you are going to be down there?
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, we'll see you. Yeah, I'll text you.
Yeah, we're just trying to focus on that dressage and show jumping a little bit too. Where are you guys staying?
We're staying at clients of ours, like towards the ocean and stuff, but we're going for the first 2 weeks to go to WEF. Yeah, to jump. So it'll be perfect. Yeah. And then we're going to come back because we're actually just going to base in North Carolina this year. So and go like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off and not have like a permanent home because I feel like it's so hard to move to a facility and then go show for a couple weeks. So we're going to do Wellington for 2 weeks and then go to probably Ocala for February and parts of March.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just do a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Well, Jimmy, it was so great to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it was.
Thanks for coming on. It was so fun.
Managed to get through my glass of wine, so that was good.
Perfect.
We'll have to have you back another time, but thank you.
Yeah, for sure. That was great.
All right, guys. So we got a mailbag from Healy in our Facebook group. So I love this, and I really hope you have some good advice for her. So Healy says, I'm looking for a healthy midlife crisis. Is it possible to still be a working student for someone, even if you're 40 plus? Where would I start to make inroads? So Jess, I want to start with you. Do you have any advice? Is there age discrimination when it comes to a working student, or are you just looking for someone who's most qualified? You tell me.
No, I think we're just looking for something that's most qualified. I think honestly, Facebook and Instagram and all that is actually social media in a general. Like if you want to stay nearby, like home, like I don't know what the situation is, if you have kids or whatever else, or you just want to look for something part-time, like I would go to social media and say, look, I'm looking for something, whatever, if it's part-time, full-time, want to bring a horse and be like, who's interested, or just start messaging, when you see things like we post ads about working students and we then get inquiries and they ask about what the situation is. And like a lot of times you don't know what people are looking for or what they'll do. And so I would just kind of start getting the word out is basically what I would do. Just say, hey, look, this is what I'm interested in. These are my situations that I can do. And I need to be close to home or I can travel. And I think it's totally good to go out and start something new. Like I would definitely embrace it and say, hey, look, 6 months, 3 months, a year. And I'm sure there's people that and find a program that works for you. And that's going to be the best thing.
Ellie, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would just agree. My farrier and I were just talking about it today. There's a lady that works at a racehorse, retired racehorse, like 6 stalls. And she makes $50,000 a year and she only works 4 hours a day. So, I think that's like the gold standard. Like I doubt anyone's going to be able to get that. But she's 55, I think at any at any age, a working student who has knowledge is valuable to any organization or any operation.
Definitely. So don't give up. And if you find a way, Healy, let us know, like report back.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what you do.
So if you have a question you'd like for us to answer on air, you can send us an email at hello@heelsdownmedia.com. And if you want to hear more from us, you should subscribe to the Heels Down Spark at bit.ly/spark by HD. And please join us on Facebook. You can join our group, which is the Heels Down Happy Hour Podcast Lounge. And we want to say thank you to all of our sponsors this week, Eco Gold, Green Flower, Botanicals, and Candles for Burned Out Equestrians. All right. Cheers.
Cheers.